What up, flockers? In this video, I'm gonna go over how to introduce more parrots into your flock. So if you are looking to get multiple birds, which is extremely difficult to handle, then this video is probably the right video for you. So if you guys find this really valuable, please make sure you like and subscribe to watch more content like this, and let's get on with the video. Obviously, I'm guilty of this myself. If you have one good thing, why wouldn't you get more of it, right? Eventually you just start going down this absolutely insane rabbit hole where you have no idea what you're doing with your life, but you know what? It's pretty fun because you got a bunch of parrots, you know, just chilling with you. Now let me tell you, getting multiple parrots is generally not easy, but there are some tips and tricks to it that I've learned from experience managing a flock of five completely different species. And let me just tell you, as I've mentioned in my Kayik review, some parrots generally aren't compatible, and Kayiks especially are generally known to be very aggressive towards other parrots, especially other species. So mixing parrots is not a good thing to do, and if you do it, it is incredibly difficult to manage. So managing a Kayik with 4 other completely different birds, I have some experience that I would really like to provide to you. So let's go ahead and break this down. My first tip if you're looking to get another bird is first look at the reasons you're trying to do it. Because if your reason for getting another bird is, oh, my bird's looking a little lonely, maybe I should get that parrot a friend, let me just stop you right there. If that's your reason for getting another parrot, things aren't going to work out by getting more parrots. You're only going to have even more of an issue. You see, parrots are flock creatures, and if your parrot isn't joining your flock, meaning you or your family, and things aren't working out, getting more parrots is only going to make things worse, because you have a root problem in not knowing how to handle your parrot and spending more time with your parrot and adapting to the parrot lifestyle. And as such, the first thing you need to do is look over your parrot and how you're handling that parrot and why it's looking like it's feeling very lonely. If you're looking to get another parrot, your reason absolutely needs to be that you are just obsessed with parrots, a little crazy, and you just really want more birds. Don't buy another bird for another bird, because it's just only going to double your problem or triple or whatever it is. Now, my next tip is try not to mix species. When you mix species, it's going to be a lot more difficult to get your birds to get along, because every species has their own body language, and your parrot is already trying to learn human body language, and now to start mixing in more birds into the mix, it's going to be a lot more for your parrot to learn and try to learn how to get along together. So generally, getting birds of the same species is going to be a lot easier. And for some species just genuinely don't like other species. They just prefer to stay with their own kind. Now, say you are going to mix species like I did, then I'm just going to give you a huge warning here.
It's not going to be easy
in the slightest. When you're introducing your new parrot into the flock, things are probably going to get very, very dicey. Parrots will generally react in a large variety of ways, but one of the main ways you need to be absolutely careful of is aggressiveness. Parrots will probably be very aggressive towards each other, especially if you have like a parrot such as a Kayik. These parrots have been known to completely eradicate any competition in the flock, and you have to be extremely careful and keep a close eye on any interaction your parrots have to make sure that there's no fights that break out. Otherwise, you're going to have a very unfortunate vet visit. So, rule number 1 when mixing your parrots, whether it's same species or different, this applies to anything. Always keep an extremely close attention to your parrots, and only let them interact with each other under supervision. Now, whatever you do, even if it's the same species, you should never cage your parrots together. Even if they seem to be getting along, sometimes parrots will break out in fights, have disagreements. They are little 5-year-olds, so anytime your parrots are together, please be supervising. Next up is you need to be very slow and careful about this. It's not going to be very simple, and sometimes mixing parrots can even take years until they actually get along with each other. Now, when you're bringing home your brand new parrot, you also have to keep in mind sometimes your original parrot might be a bit territorial. It's gonna be like, hey, this is my home. What are you doing here? And there are ways that maybe you can help mitigate that territorial behavior. Things such as shifting things around, moving the cage's location, just small changes can help change up the idea that this is that parrot's territory. But now you also want to be a little careful about it, as things like this also introduce stress. So you definitely need to be very, very careful how you handle shifting things around, and you're going to have to be very careful in helping them cope with any form of mental stress, as that can oftentimes lead to things like poor behavior, being nippy, starting plucking or malnutrition, stress feathers. You want to be really careful with any signs of stress that your parrots have. So for example, if your two parrots are being very aggressive towards one another, you should avoid things such as putting their cages together and just having them at it all day long. Sometimes it's just better to keep them away and let them learn their new environments and have them slowly get used to each other. And you just have to be extremely patient with how you're handling everything. You do not want the parrots just to be getting at each other, even in separate cages, but looking at each other. You don't want them to just be getting stressed out all the time. So you really need to get in the mind and psychology of your bird and try to figure out what exactly it's thinking and why it's doing what it's doing. Now, one of the tricks that worked for me in getting them to work together is finding an activity the parrots all enjoy doing together. So whether it's things such as a group feeding and giving them all treats at the same time, or just chilling under a nice warm blanket and just getting into a nice relaxing heat coma, as they tend to call it. You just need to find some kind of activity that both your birds like and that they can agree, yeah, okay, you know what, we don't have to fight over this. We can get along and do this together. Another thing that really helped is just respecting each of the parrots' boundaries and just letting them all learn, like, hey, you know, maybe this is my little spot, that's your little spot, and everyone kind of just respecting one another. But unfortunately, these things will take time for each of the parrots to learn one another, and that's where you just need to have a lot of supervision over your parrots. Now, the most important piece of advice I can possibly give you is whatever you do, do not split up any time you spend with your parrot. Now, what I mean is, say you have a busy lifestyle and you generally only have maybe like 2 hours to spend with a parrot. What you don't want to do is split that 2-hour time slot you have to 1 hour with the parrot and another hour with the other parrot, because unfortunately, then your original parrot is going to get incredibly jealous and very upset with you and the other parrot, because parrots do not like sharing. Let that be known. So whatever you do, do not split your time. You are going to be more busy than ever. You are going to need to add an additional time slot to your very busy schedule to spend more time with your new parrot. Now, once the parrots get along, yeah, maybe you can spend time with both parrots at the same time, but you absolutely do not ever want to spend less time with your existing parrot, as that is only going to further incentivize your parrot to hate the other one out of just pure jealousy. And that is the worst situation to put yourself in. Now, if you have any training techniques that you have with your parrot, such as rewarding good behavior with a treat or maybe some time and playing around, whatever it is that you use to train your parrot, using any sort of positive reinforcement you can to promote good, healthy interactions between your different birds is also going to be extremely crucial in making sure that they all get along. So if your parrots end up snuggling together, you might want to give them a treat, rewarding both of them for that good interaction that they are having together. That's why it's so important you need to be there when your parrots are interacting with each other. So that about sums up most of the tips I have just from experience with 5 different parrots. Now if you guys want to support this channel with more bird information and parrot entertainment, please check out my merch store, fivesaflock.com. I got some really cool shirts and also some new stuff coming, if not already in the store right now, so please check it out. And with that, I'll see you next time.